Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio. Every time it says recording in progress, it like blows up my eardrums.
Yeah, it's the sound is just going to be off from now on because you're going to be talking loudly because you can't hear yourself anymore.
Huh?
Thanks, Zoom lords. Yeah, it's
It's
a good day for an episode though, I'd say.
Matinee Edition remote.
Episode 10 Deuce, I think.
Deuce, yeah.
Deuce. I don't know if I ever told you this. Sometimes at work, when I get two back-to-back drink orders, like the exact same, like we'll say they're dirty chais, 2 16-ounce dirty chais. I'll call them both up on the bar. I'll be like, I got Deuce dirty chais on the bar.
And I'll be probably some Karen type ways, like, what language is that, sir?
Yeah. Oh, do you speak Latin?
Oh God. Dude, we have
imagine like how dumb, how thick you'd have to fucking be to do
you
that.
Speak Latino. Dude, we
Karen's an ass.
At Lander right now, we have a specialty drink called the Café con Miel. It's an Olay with honey and vanilla in it.
Yeah.
And very nice, very like delicate, tastes great. We have we've been brewing a nice single origin coffee, so it's very good little single origin Mexican coffee with that.
Nice.
Fuck, dude, I didn't realize how stupid people were. Can I have a cafe con meal? Like,
con meal?
Con meal. It's spelled with an I. God damn it, you fuckers! No one learned like a single like word in Spanish. No one's paid any attention.
No, and let's be honest, mostly that's the same crossover crowd that calls anything with like cayenne pepper Mexican, or like, they'll be like, can I get a Mexican mocha? You just want some cayenne pepper in there? Is that what you mean by that? Because like that could apply to so many different fucking cultures.
So there was a woman actually today who came into Lander, and she got a breakfast burrito, and she asked like, "What's in the breakfast burrito?" And I was like, "Okay, well, potatoes, cilantro, black beans. There's some habanero sauce, white cheddar, egg." And she was like, "Oh, so it's Mexican?" And I just looked at her and went, "It is a burrito."
Yeah, did you not read?
And the person she was with started laughing at her.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. You should have said huevos. Really
would you like me to repeat the ingredients in Spanish, ma'am? I can.
Yeah. Dude, for real though.
Spoiler,
it's like,
you're not smart if you think cilantro is cilantro in both languages.
I'm speaking Spanish. Can I get more cilantro, please?
Yes.
No, it's crazy because coffee is one of those things, like food, the food industry in general, but coffee is a great example of like the benefit that you get from hard work, or from people like around across the globe in different cultures and living completely different lives, and you get your bean, you get it all the way back to America, and then some fucking Karen just is like, can I get a white chocolate caliente mocha? And
or they're like,
and then you try and tell them about the farmer or something, and they're just like, they just don't even give a fuck. Like,
or shit like, it's this huge process. It's super inequitable, like there's the people at the fucking base producers in most cases are nearly scammed out of their product.
Yeah.
And there's so much bullshit. There's hard work on so many different levels. And then you get somebody going like, I thought French roast was grown in France.
Or one of
And
my favorites recently was somebody going, "Oh, those Mexicans can sure roast coffee." like looking at a single origin coffee from Mexico. Somebody said that to me, and I was like, I don't think that's it. Then I just walked away.
Oh
I was just
God,
like, I
that
don't know
might
what
be
to
one of
say
the
to that.
best things I've heard in a minute.
I was like, you're a fucking idiot, sir. Like,
Ugh.
yeah, it's, and you're right, dude. Like, the thing, it happens so commonly with both, like, ubiquitous Italian roasts and French roasts.
Yeah.
Like, people roast them because, like, people buy them, but it's
Yeah.
weird when somebody comes up to you and thinks that, like, those beans, those greasy ass Italian beans, are from Italy or something like that, or
Yeah.
were grown there, and you're just like, I don't have the time to explain this to you, because
Yeah.
it'll take a while,
So, thanks, folks, for listening to the pilot episode for the freshly rebooted Coffee and Contemplation.
Yeah, the quick coffee preface.
Matinee Edition. We're back. 1 or 2. 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, quick segue there, but
Don't have any gaming minute today.
We'll hit it anyway, just because. Nope, wrong one.
Oh, the gavel might actually be weirdly appropriate for the bullshit we're about to talk about. Avatar 2 has a title.
Oh yeah.
The Way of the Water.
Jesus Christ, dude.
It also has a single image, and apparently it's coming out in November with a trailer to debut behind Doctor Strange.
And I hear that, like, off this cuff, they're remastering the original and putting it out in theaters again.
How the fuck do you remaster a movie that's completely in CGI?
I really don't know. And honestly, like, I really don't care. Like, I tried personally, I tried to watch Avatar once, and I did not. Like, I think I fell asleep through it, and I just didn't try again because it was such a boring movie to me.
I think this is where our slight age difference shows. Because when Avatar came out, I was like 13, and I fucking loved it because it was like I didn't give a shit, it was all spectacle to me, it was in that phase of like my childhood where I wasn't at the point. I was actually 12 now I think of it. I wasn't at the point where like compelling story was the deal breaker, like you could get away with selling me some real trash if it looked good.
Yeah.
And
that was the whole thing about that movie, was that
exactly
it was groundbreaking in its cinematography and stuff,
yeah,
and like,
which
it had
I
the
think,
use of CGI and whatnot.
I think that there is something to be said for that, but that said, it's been too long, and I just don't care. Like,
I would rather see James Cameron make a remake of or a sequel to Titanic. Yeah.
Oh God.
Or like seriously throw his hat back in the Terminator ring. Like, that would be dope.
Oh, that'd be sick. I'd love to see another James Cameron Terminator, but he's making 6 Avatar movies.
Yeah, and that's the thing that bothers me so much, is like the pretension on the pretentiousness of this property, where it's like, after all of this time, they still think that the hype is there. They still think that they're going to be bringing so much to the table, and that they're planning 6 fucking movies. And it's like, nobody's asking for another Avatar to begin with. Like the fact that like they're going to have to put so much money into generating interest in the fucking property again. That's going to probably like be a significant chunk of change.
I can't imagine the marketing costs.
And so it's like, because I mean, like,
and it's not like,
I don't know.
It's not like the closest comparison of like a IP that's been like frozen for a chunk of time that no one's seen, but then like new stuff is announced and people are excited. Actually, Avatar: The Last Airbender is sort of like a good example of that. Like, but the difference is that before there was the whole Avatar Studios news, it wasn't like, oh, it's been 8 years since Legend of Korra dropped or finished. Here's Avatar Studios, we're doing it. It was like there was this revitalization of the brand that drove interest, and is why the Avatar Studios thing came around in the first place.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, from everything I've seen, it doesn't, like, I don't know. There's very like slim amounts of stuff that have come out about Avatar 2.
Yeah,
but it like, it seems like it coming out so soon. it's like, whoa, where has been the press for this movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're getting like, because this is
I
the
mean,
age where like movies either do one of two things. Like they either like don't put much press out until like a month or two before, like which is like insane and a huge risk, or they like spend like a year and a half hyping of this, like these huge big budget
yeah,
circus fucking movies. And
it's either the Batman or it's
yeah,
Thor: Love and Thunder.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know.
One of
I feel
which,
like they should go with the Batman on this one. You
yeah,
know?
well, I mean, like that's the way to generate hype, you know? It's like I feel like this is something like DC right now. You really got to sell it. I mean, it's a hard sell. You have the courtesy with Thor where it's a trusted brand.
Well,
Like
it's also more, because they've had more recent successes, right?
exactly. There's this no one. I mean, this is arguably even worse like setup than like anything DC could do right now, because it's just been idle for so fucking long, and only the like people that actively look at this stuff and pay attention to the media landscape will know that this was even baking. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's going to catch.
Like I told
overall,
somebody,
it's going to catch people off guard.
I told somebody a few weeks ago that there was a sequel to Avatar brewing, and he looked at me like I was on mushrooms, and I just told him like a crazy psychedelic fantasy. The dude looked at me like he needed something to be able to keep up. He was fucking just, I saw like the cogs stop turning.
It's like, wait, you're talking about blue cat people and like jumping from tree to tree and fighting robots or whatever?
The first thing he said was, "Oh, like Avatar: The Last Airbender," and I'm like, no.
Which is arguably the hotter property now. Like
The hotter property with Avatar in the name, yes.
Yes. And well, and that was always, I mean, just as like a really random thing. That was like when Avatar the movie came out,
Yeah.
like it overtook the popularity of the Last Airbender name.
Yeah.
Like, and so like for years and years and years, if you referenced Avatar, it was just about the blue cat people. And so like now it's kind of shifted in that other direction, where I feel like if you ubiquitously say like, if you just say Avatar, like people are going to think about the Last Airbender or like Korra, rather than James Cameron's movie. And that just shows the level of interest that has died in the popular culture for it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean, where it's like
everyone thinking the world was going to end in 2012. Yeah. It's a thing that you never think about anymore, and then you look back and you're like, that happened.
Yeah, it's like that John Cusack movie 2012.
Hey, shout out to Pointless Hub on YouTube, a spinoff of Alternate History Hub. The dude just does videos about like the dumbest shit, and he did one on 2012 about how it is the most disaster movie you can ever watch.
It's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I mean, it seems like from my understanding of what James Cameron's trying to accomplish with this property is that he's doing, there is, the first movie was kind of centered more in like almost like a futuristic alien rainforesty kind of setting.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. And then this one's supposed to be more centered in like the aquatic setting, hence the Way of Water or whatever title. And so you're going to be exploring more of like a, like an underwater or, type of ecosystem.
Which is cool.
Well, and that's in line with him. Like he's a huge, like
wasn't he one of the first people to like go all the way to the bottom of the Marianas Trench?
Yeah, dude. And that's fucking crazy to think about. James Cameron trained himself in this little tiny pod that like it was actually really cool. Like it was like this little tiny pod where you couldn't really even move. Like you could like move your arms a little bit, and just launched him down to the fucking as far as you could go.
Yeah.
And so it's like this dude's really interested in this stuff, and perhaps he's interested in conservation a little more as he maybe like.
Well, that was the theme. That was the theme of that movie.
Yeah, and so it makes
they were
sense
trying to mine all the unobtainium.
Unobtainium, exactly. But that's, to me, like that just makes like stuff like that is like, this movie's very obvious and for that reason fucking obnoxious, and like and so it's like, I don't know, I'm mildly interested. I guarantee you I will not go see this movie, but
the only reason that I would watch this movie is if it came out and I heard that it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wait. I'll probably watch it at home at some point. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
sit down.
exactly.
You know what I
That's
mean?
that's what that's what I'm saying. I will give credit where credit's due. If I hear that's fine, I'll watch it at home.
Yeah.
If I hear that's fantastic, I'll watch it in theaters.
Yeah, but it's, I'm not gonna like, I can't hold my breath for this because I really would
Exactly.
just wish, like, I wish James Cameron would just like do some really awesome documentaries or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, start gearing towards that. Like, why make another fucking Avatar movie?
Speaking
Like,
of much better avatars, did you ever finish Legend of Korra?
oh yeah, I've watched it. I've watched the whole series like at least like twice all the way through, probably three times.
I forgot if you told me that about Avatar or Legend of Korra, but
Yeah,
the
Legend of Korra is dope.
Legend of Korra just the premiere turned 10 years old a few days ago.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and it's kind of like interesting to note that timeline, and just to say, like, like they are, that property is still continuing. They're still trying to revitalize that in a lot of ways. I've seen really cool concept art online for like adult versions of the characters like Zuko and
So there's
Sokka
actually a really cool fan comic going on. It got like the endorsement of the creators of Avatar. Like they
Nice.
read it and they were like, this is fucking sick. It's the Avatar after Korra, so it takes place in like pseudo present day.
Interesting.
And it's a kid who was one of the sand people in the desert that never got found as the Avatar.
Oh shit.
There's an earthbender, but the Earth Kingdom just like chose a kid from like the upper echelons of society that's not actually the Avatar and turned him essentially into a social media personality that's a complete fraud.
That's cool. That's interesting commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Like that would be a really fun, like I would watch a live action storyline play out.
Apparently it's like a semi-animated web comic. And
That's
apparently
cool.
It's very good. It's called The Legend of Genji.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's and that's what I mean, where it's like there's still like active
there's a fan
interest
base.
in fan base there, and I think as we get closer, hopefully, to like a live action iteration of The Last Airbender, hopefully we might see some new stuff kind of also on the horizons.
Or even like they're doing that other animated show, like it's an animated movie. It's an animated feature is going to be the first Avatar Studios project.
Oh, huh. What's the? Do you know what the movie is?
No one knows. That's it. That's all they announced. They're doing they're planning on a theatrical release. If I were to put my money down, it's the gang as adults.
I mean, that would be
just as like a swing and a hit right off the bat,
Yeah, I feel like that would be the biggest draw and like almost a guaranteed moneymaker.
Yeah, like make some fucking money off the start, create something good, and then afterwards you do you go a bit crazy.
Yeah, well, because tying it into Legend of Korra, you see in brief
so much shit happens
of like flashbacks and stuff. You see like older Sokka and you see older Aang, and it's like it's enough to generate more interest in even like how, like, what did they do between the end of The Last Airbender and the those memories that we saw Korra revisiting and shit. And so
you don't really see much.
You don't see much, but it's like it's just enough to like to see those characters a little older to make you go like, yes, I want to see that. Like, like what happens with Zuko and the Fire Nation? Like, how does he tame the Fire Nation? From where it was to like where you see it in Legend of Korra, shit like that. It's a huge pocket
where they're fucking, the one thing you hear about the Fire Nation and Legend of Korra is that they're all pacifists now.
Which is crazy.
Which is a crazy thing.
And that's what I mean, where it's like, like what a significant change that would have had to have gone through. Like, Zuko probably had to learn how to navigate the political fucking forums of the Fire Nation.
There's one thing that, if I'm remembering correctly, Zuko in the comics, Azula breaks out and starts like a insurgency.
That makes sense.
Trying to dethrone Zuko.
That would be cool. That'd be a cool storyline to follow.
That'd be a cool setup.
Yeah. Does she what because what's they
also find their mom. So
yeah, that's one I have. I think I have that comic.
It's a good comic.
Yeah. It's and again, like those things are like great representations of like, you know, what you could do even, you know, in some like animated
Oh,
format. Because
if
like,
I'm remembering right, a new Legend of Korra comic like dropped to celebrate the 10-year.
oh, well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
they're still working it, which is a cool way to keep it alive, you know?
Oh, for sure. Well, because like, you know, it's one of those like really like unique, like more modern properties, like, you know, like characters and superheroes and stuff like that, like Batman and the fucking Avengers and all these characters, like, you know, they like I love them, but they also have like, you know, they've been around for so long,
Yeah,
and
they're
so it's
like
like,
mid 20th century.
so it's like creating like the characters in the world of the Last Airbender and Avatar there, like it brought this like interesting sort of like new dynamic. Like if you felt, it felt like some like comic booky kind of stuff, you know, and
Yeah,
it felt like these modern comic book characters
but it was
in
completely
the,
fresh.
yeah, and it was like this really awesome way of telling like these like, you know, childhood to teen to like, you know, young adult stories,
Yeah,
like, and yeah, so it really like it, I think it'll, that property will go on further and longer
yeah,
than the James Cameron Avatar will in the
yeah,
long run. You
absolutely.
know what I mean? Like I think that
Pitted
Avatar,
against
like,
each other in name only.
well, in name only, but like if you think about it, like, you know, one of them has to be the one that's always, that's more referenced in
Yeah,
pop culture. It's, you know, and I think it will be the Last Airbender in the long run.
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
suck it, James Cameron.
before we move on to the next subject,
JC.
how do you feel about the actors who starred in the really shitty Last Airbender adaptation being the Ember Islands players in the recap episode adaptation?
I mean, that'd be that would be a kind of fun idea, I think.
I genuinely love it.
You know,
I think that that'd be so funny.
it would show that that like as a property they know how to not take themselves seriously enough.
Yeah,
You know, that's what Marvel does, right? With those like those great Thor scenes where they recap, you know, Matt Damon playing fucking Loki or whatever, Thor,
yeah,
whichever one he is. You know, like those things, like, I don't know, they're just fun enough that you're like, okay, like
I'm down. You
yeah,
know,
I'm there. But I feel like that would be a really cool nod because my God, like that's the biggest hurdle that the Last Airbender has to overcome is that shit fucking production. Like really, like it tainted the fucking brand so hard
oh yeah,
that, like, you know,
it's why the
they've been
Legend
like
of Korra
crawling out
struggled
of,
through
yeah,
development.
yeah, they've been having to crawl out of that fucking hole that it left. Like, you know, and
Hey, do you know the girl that played Guitar fucking married somebody huge the other day?
no,
If I'm remembering right, was it
I don't know.
was it Justin Bieber?
Bieber's married.
No,
Isn't Bieber
Bieber's
married to
married.
somebody?
Bieber's married. I don't fucking know. Whatever. The girl, Kate was like, so and so got married. David Beckham's son. David Beckham's son
Oh,
married this
married.
girl. Apparently, she's an heiress to one of the Viacom guys, which makes sense because that's Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that Nickelodeon? Like,
Yeah,
damn, dude, that's fucking wild. Well, getting into the family,
yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, okay, so that's, I'm just gonna
Oh,
use
do
that
we
to
have
transition.
Fast and Furious news?
I have a bit. So like, so this is wild. Okay, last episode we talked about how Fast X is the title.
X.
Yeah, throwing up the X with the hands there.
X-Men?
X-Men. but not only do we have the title, not only do we know that the family is expanding, uh,
As always.
but it's also losing a member. So
Ooh.
so the director is out, man. Like
What?
Justin Lin is no longer directing Fast X. The studio's actively finding a replacement for him.
Oh.
But in the meantime, they're almost spending, like, I think the quote that I read was like almost $1 million a day, like like halting production
Oh
to like try
no.
to, like, you know, figure out this new direction, and which is crazy to me. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine that? Like
Who's
all for
the
one fucking person? Like,
who was the well, I mean the director is a pretty fucking important person.
well, he is, but it's like you must have had some really big disagreement with them or something that you're willing to put up like that kind of fucking, those kind of fucking bills, you know?
Fucking
Like,
flying around. Sorry, I'm listening to you.
you know, you're good. And so it's just wild. Like, and it also kind of sucks because I feel like I feel like he's made some of the some of the more solid Fast movies, right?
Oh yeah, I mean he
Like,
was like 3, 5, 6.
yeah, and so it's like it's strange that he's out.
I
Like,
think if they
I guess
get it,
what I'm reading is that he's transitioning to being a producer on it or something like that.
oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Which I think it's fair. I mean, like who was it that did the Saw ones and did it and then did Furious 7?
Oh, James Wan.
James Wan could do it again. I think Furious 7 is well enough shot. Oh, I'm forgetting who did Fate of the Furious, but that one, Fate of the Furious, was
That's
actually
one of my
pretty well
favorite
shot.
titles, though. That's one of my
Oh yeah.
yeah. I love
Way
that
better
title.
than better than Fast 9, the Fast Saga.
The Fast Saga. I still can't believe that that's like what they ended up sticking with on that.
Dude,
Like,
I think they should have mirrored the F into a 9.
there you go. There you go. That's all you need.
That's all you fucking need. You don't
Especially
need,
because right after that, you just gave us Fast X. So
yeah, Fast X. I mean, that's crazy, but it's a better title than Fast 9, the Fast Saga.
Yeah, for real though. Fast X does kind of sound like a off-brand like X-Lax or something like that though.
Like, Fast X sounds like a XXX short film.
Ooh. See, I mean, maybe it is Fast X because we are finally getting the crossover.
Maybe it's happening. Samuel Jackson will be in it.
That's the post-credit scene.
Oh,
could you imagine? Could you?
And then the next one they get Vin Diesel from The Last Witch Hunter.
It just becomes a Vin Diesel multiverse.
And then Riddick.
Yeah, they bring in Riddick.
Who Vin Diesel owns the rights to Riddick.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing about that property is that realistically, if he get the interest in the capital, like Vinny D can just like do what he wants with that fucking thing. Like,
so
and we've talked about it, but that comes from directly from the deal he made for Tokyo Drift. Like, yeah, to do that post-credit scene. So
it's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like they must have, again, like the studio must have just been like, we really don't fucking believe in this property. which is wild, man. I'd see another Riddick movie. They could build that out more. Riddick had some cool aesthetic. It was just I think it became a symptom of Vin Diesel's persona at the time, where it was like, the
Fast and Furious guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, didn't I see that guy at XXX? Wasn't he snowboarding down a mountain or whatever? Like, oh no, that's the XXX, the third one. He like skis or something like that.
Have you seen,
down a fucking
I actually meant to say
rainforest?
This. I forget if I saved it for you, but there's a great behind the scenes thing. They actually did that.
That's crazy.
I gotta give it to him. It's mostly in camera.
Yeah,
it's just a face replacement to make the guy look like Vin Diesel, but it's a guy from Red Bull. From Red Bull's ski team doing it.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like it's not unheard of to like see it, like to pull off something like that, but it's just crazy that they actually did it for that movie.
For XXX.
Yeah, for XXX, you set that.
The return of Xander Cage. Cringe.
Super cringe.
Here's something that's way less cringe.
Moving away from Fast and Furious and Vin Diesel.
we gotta talk Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
He's up there with fucking Lord Feige now. He's disciple Waititi.
Disciple Waititi.
We got a bunch of shit. So Thor is coming very soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that there's gonna be like a formal trailer drop alongside Doctor Strange.
That makes sense. Like I feel like at this point they wouldn't drop it any sooner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, why not, right? If Doctor Strange it's already going to be huge. It's attracted a huge opening night audience and opening weekend audience already.
Yeah,
including myself.
And just quick side note off the Doctor Strange thing. Have you seen like the newest like stuff that's been captured from the TV spots?
Yeah,
there's like legit shots of Professor X's like yellow X-Men chair.
Yeah. That's from the IMAX trailer.
Yeah, there's the shot of like Haley Atwell's
the
shield Carter with the shield. And I thought that this was kind of like the lame thing. I think like you all knew it was happening, but then like the very distinct call out of the Illuminati.
Yeah, it was like I thought that I was like that's actually pushing it for me.
I feel like that's like too hard on the nose. Like I thought the mystery of like what kind of Illuminati, or maybe what if it is the Illuminati was cool, but like actually just calling it out in the trailer, I was like, oh. But
the Illuminati are
yeah.
ready to see you. Is the way he said it also was sort of funny.
But the best news out of all that, just then this is the last thing for Strange really quick, is that Tom Cruise is officially not in the movie. So
yes, I saw
like
that.
I was super stoked about that.
But
I was like, all right, I will go see that after all.
Did you know? Did you see though that they sort of left it in the air that that's something that they like to do?
Yeah, I mean, I really
It might
don't
just
know
be
if it'll ever pan out at this point.
I don't think it'll ever pan out. I think it's pandering to a point.
Yeah, I mean specifically because that dude's like, I mean, and I hate to have Tom Cruise news, but he's got 2 Mission Impossible movies I think coming down the pipeline. So
yeah, one at the end of this year, and then another one I believe a couple years after.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're both like part one. It's like a part 1 and part 2 kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, clearly he's focusing on that. So
speaking of that, that's fucking stupid. I hate the part 1, part 2 stuff.
Well, especially if it's like if you look at it, it's like in a series of 7 fucking movies already. Like you don't need to break them down by part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Like just
also, I just have
the next movie.
You have to make a fantastic movie for me to validate wanting to sit through like an unfinished product for the first time and then wait like a year before the next one.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
I put up with the only reason I had sympathy for Infinity War was because it was a fucking machine of a movie. Infinity War is a great movie and Endgame is a great movie. Well, and they work in tandem so well.
Yeah, that's true. And another good example is the Dune property.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Like, it would be mainly because like that has to be split up anyway, but
yeah,
it's something that you want to leave off on that note, so it like wraps you into like the next movie. But a property like Mission Impossible, it's like, I don't know, they're like even the self-contained things that happen in those movies, there's still like things that bleed out in the overall universe, like world.
Absolutely, so more so in the more recent ones.
Yeah, and so you're just like, okay, we get it. It's like every movie's tied together. Like
enough so that
you don't need to call them parts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even like fucking Spider-Verse moved away from that. Did you see that? Like it's now across the Spider-Verse and then beyond the Spider-Verse. It's not part 1 and 2.
Yeah, which I mean, I recently reading something about that.
Yeah.
Was somebody working on it said that they designed 240 different characters for that sequel.
Yeah.
And though they might, some of them and most of those are like background minimal characters, that's like what an undertaking to like design that many specific characters. You know what I mean?
I had
that's going to be exciting to see how like and who those characters are as they pop up into that multiversal story. So
well, I mean, this might bring us right back to Doctor Strange. There's that split second in one of the early trailers where him and America Chavez fall through a universe and it breaks around him, and there's a split, like a single frame where Doctor Strange turns into the like Spider-Verse style art. And it's like a single transition frame. And yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it.
I feel like well, Doctor Strange is like this movie's gonna like open up a lot of like ways to connect various different properties and different types of properties, which is really what's cool about it. And that's also kind of why I'm thinking like, where does Thor 4, full circle back to that, where does Thor 4 fit into that?
You mean 4?
Yeah, 4. You can't really call it anything else 4. But I wonder where that fits into that. Like, how does that piece together into the overall MCU story?
Well, I mean, we're seeing. I think if there's one thing that's gonna be the general synopsis of Phase 4, it is expansion. I think we're back in the phase. It's essentially, remember Phase 1, where how unprecedented it was for the Avengers to happen. You had all these movies that, while they all occupied that action adventure sort of style, they all had a different general aesthetic. They all had a different presentation, different directors, and they came together.
Yeah.
I think Phase 4 is sort of going back to that. Like, do I think that there will be another Avengers movie in a couple years after all the announced stuff? Yeah, probably. But I think that it's going to be back sort of they're winding everything out again to start tapering it in, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, and it makes sense because, you know, like you said, it's a really good point. Like a lot of the stories and the things that we're seeing right now from the MCU at large is like, you know, you're getting some really interesting individual stories about characters, but you're also
Yeah.
getting these really interesting moments in a lot of shows or movies that have like bigger implications that
Yeah.
expand the universe, you know. And
Loki, what
dude,
if,
I mean,
Doctor Strange
yeah,
now. But
I
then
mean,
we
yeah.
have like an equal amount of small stories.
Mhm.
Falcon the Winter Soldier,
But it's
Hawkeye.
also both world building though, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're just they're building. It's interesting because they're really building in different layers now. So you
Yeah.
have the cosmic layer, you have the magic layer, you have the fucking grounded layer with like,
Yeah.
you know, properties like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye, which, you know,
Yeah. Or
which
the apparent Daredevil thing that's on the way.
yeah, well, exactly, this mysterious Daredevil project that's like getting developed, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's
We
like,
haven't even talked Moon Knight.
no, we haven't.
Did
And
you watch
honestly,
this week?
I didn't.
Oh,
I've
it's
kind of
fucking great.
that's what I heard. I heard there's no action. I've heard it's more of like a, you know, a storyline centered around his, you know, just Oscar Isaac's
Yeah.
character, you know, and or multiple characters, we'll say. Um, but you know, it's like, yeah, and then even that is like expanding in a direction that could help solidify some really interesting stories later on. You know, you're really delving into like the certain tier level of gods that, like, you know, that humans have dealt with in a way. And
Yeah, but then and that even sort of goes back to Thor. It's like all things point towards the Greek gods and that pantheon being expanded into.
yeah, which, you know, I think we've talked about it. Give us the fucking Hercules.
Please,
Give it
please.
make Henry Cavill the fucking Hercules. That's what I want to see,
Oh,
dude. Like that,
fucking awesome.
the dude's there for it. Or cast the dude that plays the mountain, one of the two.
The
But
absolute unit.
no, yeah, he would just be a bad actor probably. But you know, like, it's interesting. Like there's multiple layers from street level up that are being expanded upon in these different stories, and somehow Marvel is able to keep it all cohesive. And
Yeah.
so it really is an impressive feat, if you ask
One
me.
of our show notes this week was that Kevin Feige announced that, oh, there's 10 years out.
Yeah.
I think that announcement points toward there being another Infinity War in that game in
Oh
10
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
This is all pointing towards something. I think, like I said, retrospectively looking at phase one, phase two, phase three, it was like a fucking cone. It was everything was getting pinched closer and closer towards that noted endpoint that they knew they were going towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the fuck this one is, but we're currently in the phase where the cone is like, and it's not bottlenecks just yet.
It's definitely still like pretty wide where we're at
Yeah,
right now.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm really interested in, like, you know, that note of like, yeah, like, you know, Feige and Marvel execs are like, you know, that, like, the note that I read was like they're actively planning a retreat where they will then come up with, like we said, 10 years, the next 10 years of Marvel fucking movies,
What I would do to be able to like be a fly on the wall in that?
dude. Like,
Be fucking crazy.
yeah, that shit's insane. Like, but like, just the idea of planning the longevity for like that far out, you know, like you're already so far in, but to
Yeah,
add, you know, like, just to know that you're going to be busting out 10 more years, you know, like, they have faith in their fucking properties. Like, that's for goddamn sure.
absolutely.
And you know, I'm here for it. Like, because in, you know, in reverse we have, you know, we always make these comparisons, but in reverse we have the DC properties, which are, you know, they're actively still to this day trying to find their footing. They're
Yeah,
really banking on things like Black Adam to solidify like some sort of new wave of movies,
yeah.
you know. And
But they've been stumbling since the get go.
yeah, and you know, unlike Marvel, they've just never found a way to like cohesively mix their characters and stuff like that. And I think
Yeah,
that at this point it's become a huge detriment, because that's what people are really wanting.
yeah,
People are really wanting these movies where they see multiple familiar faces. And you know, like, though the Batman was successful, it caters to a specific type of Batman crowd.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see that character interact with other superheroes really.
No.
And it'd be a bad move to. But like, the idea that like, I don't know, like back to Black Adam, the idea that like things like that property are going to include, multiple heroes like Dr. Fate and Hawkman and all these other characters from the Justice Society. It's interesting on one hand because you're like, okay, cool, maybe we'll see an expansion here, but at the same time you're like, maybe they will just fuck this up and ruin any potential future for all of these characters.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's active work on it though, because I just read that Black Adam is doing like about a week's worth of reshoots right ahead of like the Shazam 2 like movie like dropping or whatever. Or not dropping, but like scheduling or whatever. So I wonder if those two things have any, like maybe they're trying to tie some Black Adam work maybe a little more into some things like with the Shazam 2 movie. I don't know. It's just interesting that the continued lack of like cohesiveness there. It's baffling when on the other hand Marvel's just like like leaps and bounds ahead, planning the next 10 years of their successful fucking billion-dollar movies. So,
I know, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to think of.
But anyway, off of Marvel, we really got to talk. We started talking about Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're near in time. We've been going for a minute. I just want to throw out, we've been watching some shows lately. It's funny because of Our Flag Means Death. The first season's out on HBO Max. Twitter and the greater lucky people on the internet have realized that Taika Waititi made stuff before Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It's really funny. It's really funny because like What We Do in the Shadows exploded, both the series and the show. Or both the series and the movie, I mean. Hunt for the Wilderpeople, honest to God, one of my favorite movies ever made. It's
a good one.
It's a great movie. It's all coming. People are watching it for the first time. And it made me genuinely happy. I was like, you fucking morons are missing out. But at the same time, good for you to finally be here,
Oh, for sure. Well, like Taika Waititi's, he's just he's the new Peter Jackson. He's he's like New Zealand has this like weird pocket where I feel like they just like they have these like awesome artists and like creatives there, and they just thrive off of this like what they're doing on and then
should I frustrate the conservative Wenatchee crowd? It's because of the socialism.
It's because of the socialism. I mean, it's like that and the low population. Like it's like
exactly.
It leaves for a comfortable life.
Hey, I mean I had a friend of mine that lived in New Zealand for a minute, going to school, and said it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know a guy. He basically moved there during the pandemic because he was stuck there, and then he was just like, "Dude, I just fucking love it here. I don't want to.
Why leave?
Yeah, I don't want to come back."
Can't blame him.
But it's like it's just cool. It's like it's cool to see, Taika Waititi having blown up to the degree he's at, and will continue to. I mean, he's just going to be a staple in Hollywood for the rest of his fucking days, really. But you mentioned the properties like What We Do in the Shadows
for the car driven by in the background. You can probably hear it.
But like you mentioned What We Do in the Shadows, and like that, I remember seeing that movie at the local like Ole Film Society.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I was like, I didn't really understand the property when I saw that movie. I was just sort of like, this just looks fun. And it was really fun. And, to have that kind of expanded into the show that has created such a cool fan base for those characters and that world is.
So I'm watching through the show for the first time. I just never got around to it when it came out. Mm-hmm. And have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I just passed the episode where like the original characters of the movie show up for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And they're in like the council. And I don't think I've laughed harder than when like one of the familiars is accusing them of a crime. And one of the vampires yells, "She speaks the bullshit." And
she speaks the bullshit.
And me and Kate were in stitches. Because it was just if there's one thing that can sum up Taika Waititi's style, is such like controlled chaos at times.
Yeah.
It weirdly scratches like the humor itch of like the present day and what's really popular. Like it's a bunch of sort of like random shit with the zoomers, like it's random humor that's like slightly witty but also like really fast paced at times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, like it's like it rides the line of like being very dry at times too,
Yeah, that too.
and so it's like this really healthy mix of like what the new young kids want to fucking laugh at and what like people like me want to laugh at, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right.
And
You're
so
right.
it's like, yeah, it's like, and that's why he's really popular. And I think if you look at the individual himself, he's a really charismatic individual.
Yeah.
On sets there's always like reports of him like pranking people and shit. And like, I saw this great like random clip online of him like he it was like I stole Sam Neill's grapes, and he's like eating the actor Sam Neill's grapes, like what, like so it's like he's a very lively fucking person, and that bleeds into his work.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you get such fun performances out of people in his like movies and shows.
Yeah.
Off of What We Do in the Shadows, I just have to shout out Wellington Paranormal. It's something I think he maybe produces, him and Jermaine Clement. I'm not entirely certain. That's the other thing. Taika Waititi like works with Jermaine Clement from The Flight of the Conchords quite a lot, as well as Rhys Darby from Flight of the Conchords and What Our Flag Means Death, and a litany of other things. But it's Wellington Paranormal is just this really fun show, which it involves the two police officers that you get introduced to in the What We Do in the Shadows movie, who are kind of like these bumbling, like do good but sort of hapless kind of characters, and you just follow them around New Zealand.
They pop up like right at the end of the first movie.
Yeah, and so you just kind of follow them around as they deal with like random supernatural shit that they have no explanation for. So it'll be like this lady, this like demonically possessed lady. Yeah, it's like you'll have this like possessed lady who's like vomiting or something like that, and they'll just be like, hey miss, are you okay? Like like just kind of like trying to treat it like a fucking normal situation,
like
when clearly it's like like her head's like spun around the wrong direction, like she's like like and shit like that, and you're just like, I don't know, it's just the way the interactions are in most of these series and works. The characters just, I don't know, he just really nails characters, and he finds actors that just really have great cadences and like great
absolutely
humor.
I think him and Jermaine Clement are like an incredible combination.
Oh yeah. I just, it's unbeatable really, like, at the moment, in terms of like some of the humor that they present. Like it's because it's equally like it's like wholesome humor in a lot of ways, as well as like
there's a lot of heart to most of his stuff.
And that's kind of what's
look at Jojo Rabbit.
I still have never watched it, but
holy shit, you need to watch Jojo Rabbit.
I'm kind of like, how do I say it? I don't really care much for watching like fucking World War II Nazi movies anymore. Like it's really sort of like it plays around that theme. I mean, it doesn't have the record for the most Sieg Heils in a row. So like I guess what I'm saying is like it's satire. like the Nazi thing in Hollywood has become like a trope, and so it's sort of like fair. It's something that like everybody keeps falling back on as a storyline or two, and though I know that that's not centered around like like the necessarily like wartime activities, like people gunning others down, it's more like the
it's an era that's been explored a lot.
And so to me it's like a horse that's really beaten to death, because
fair enough. I think it's
especially because we live in a country where they don't actually focus on the proper history of that fucking time period. So it's like really ironic and kind of frustrating if you think about it.
That is fair. I think what makes that movie special is for the same reason that we just were talking about. There's a lot of heart to it, but it's like pure satire in its delivery, and it's such a weird reflection of like the present in a lot of senses. Like it's very much like pro critical thinking. It's taking its aim at like the fake news bullshit, all the people that try and control like discourse. It's pure satire, and that's why I thoroughly enjoy it. It's good satire, which it doesn't seem like Taika's done a ton of.
No, and that's what I was just gonna say. It's like that's kind of one of the interesting things it sounds like is that he doesn't do a lot of satire.
Yeah.
You know, like so it's
But I think
kind of makes it
his
like a
style
unique
makes
property
sense.
in there. Yeah.
For his
But
style makes
my
total
God,
sense.
man. Like you could really, I mean, we really could do this like a whole episode just talking about his fucking work. So,
Yeah.
it's like it's just I think it's funny, like you kind of talking about it earlier, like he's still most recognized for Thor 3.
Yeah, which is
And
understandable,
it's
if
understandable,
not slightly upsetting.
but it's like, there's like, just such a fucking huge world that they're building out of like, all these side projects and stuff. Like it would be really fun to just get to a point with like what we do in the shadows to like include the fucking members of Flight of the Conchords. Like they have like a run-in with like the Flight of the Conchords,
Be fucking awesome.
like, because they're just building this own, like it's like what Kevin Smith kind of did in a way where it's like you have this like weird pocket universe with all these random characters that you've created. It's small enough that you can like manipulate it to whatever degree, but like some people are really
there's enough that it's like rewarding crossover.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be a huge fan base. It never will be like a huge fan base, but it'll be like a fan base full of dedicated fucking fans,
Yeah,
and that's cool shit.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know, always worth checking out. And Our Flag Means Death is probably the newest thing in from that kind of camp, and from what I read, it's like it's been received pretty well overall. I've enjoyed it, but it's also like people are struggling to get it like pushed into the limelight more. To be like,
but I think that's exactly what you were talking about though, with the Kevin Smith analogy. Is that I think the reason that Thor is always going to be the most recognizable thing is that it's the most mainstream approachable thing.
Yeah,
it's Taika Waititi at his most studio watered down.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most commercial Taika Waititi that you'll see.
Exactly.
And
he does that so he can then produce that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, and that being said, Thor 3 was fucking awesome. So
it's like, great. I'm not complaining. Thor Ragnarok is like it's like a A-tier Marvel film.
And so it's cool to see somebody like get that big in Hollywood, do something that big, and then retain the ability to do these like passion projects
and keep working small.
Yeah. And so like, it's he's a really interesting example of like just some of the, I think that like directors have taken so many different roles. They've gone from just being directors to being like, in the early 2000s acting especially direct. Like they've been like there was like acting directors, there was like the directors became more of like the household name than they ever were before.
Yeah,
I mean that probably started happening before that. That's unfair.
I think it ebbs and flows.
But like now, like he's become like a celebrity himself.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, and it's again, I think it's cool to see, the attention he's just getting in general for his work because and
it's well-founded attention.
Yeah, I agree. That being said, if you're listening to this fucking podcast, you should probably turn your attention to our social media.
Absolutely.
It's Old Heart Radio on Instagram. You can look up Old Heart Radio on YouTube as well.
There you go.
The Twitter's out there, Old Heart and Space, but it's it's a mixture of weird stuff.
What we got this week on the other stuff?
Yeah, and we got Whack Arnold's Brothers coming up. We got an episode. Oh my God, I texted you it earlier.
Intruder, I believe.
Yeah, oh my God, I was just blanking on it. It is actually a really fucking cool movie called Intruder from the 80s. It has Sam Raimi, his brother, as well as like just a couple of really fucking cool brutal death scenes.
Really?
So it was surprisingly brutal at times, and so
it was Whack Arnold's a listen, folks.
Yeah, it's just a like a hidden gem there. And then,
if I'm remembering right, Under Further Reviews covers.
Yeah, we put together a playlist full of cover songs that we like. I think I think that was the general direction. I remember when we recorded it, I liked the playlist a lot more than like other people.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that being said, it's a fun list. We'll get the list online in the link in the Instagram bio as always. Are
there any future plans for Under Further Review?
Yeah, Oh yeah, I mean, shout outs. We got a friend named Austin Spraggins. This will be his first time on the podcast in the Old Heart universe, and so he'll be on. He has a really cool kind of like, you know, like really cool playlist. I've been digging. I know Caleb will fucking hate it, but you know, we got that digging. We got so many plans. I just can't wait. I honestly, I keep saying it, but I can't wait for summer to hit, so I can be done with school for a bit, so I can really kind of hone in on some of these things I want to talk about. I want to start, you know, getting out. We talked about this Taika Waititi small projects, but Old Heart's got tons of small projects coming up too.
Dude, the Gill Me Up podcast is gonna come. I'm telling you.
Kill me up. Oh my god. Oh, also I want to shout out my older brother, Caleb. He I think he's big. His Instagram handles like Big Bad Bug or something like that with 2 G's. But you know, he expressed interest this last week on, like, you know, hopping on doing something with Old Heart and helping out in some way. And I was just like, damn, dude, I'm glad people are like listening. I'm glad people are starting to want to get involved more and more often. Like it's the lifeblood that we thrive on over here. You know, we got the 3 staples and we got plenty of room for more, I suppose. But
that's the only blood we need.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. That's the only blood we need.
There you go. Watch what we do in the showers. It's good shit. Cheers, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Cheers to you, sir. By the time this hits, your birthday will be closer. So
hey, yes. Thank you, sir.
I want to say happy birthday, so I'll say it there. Not happy. No, seriously though. Cheers to you, my friend. Another rotation around the sun. So.
Oh yes. In the infinite void of space.
In the infinite void of space. I know you got something going on tonight with that relating to your birthday. So,
yeah.
You know, I hope you have fun with that.
I appreciate it, man.
And as always, hot dogs. If you're just a hot dog, dip yourself into some Old Heart batter. Turn yourself into a corn dog. Corn dogs. Thank you so much. Good day.
Keep listening.